Hello, it's Jen. Thanks for clicking on this video. Thought that I would give just kind of an update with where I am on Soul Union. And just kind of show you guys what I do as I'm going through writing the chapter and such. This will have spoilers for chapter 4, so if you're not interested in any spoilers, please just disregard this video. So you can see here, I have my chapter 4 set up because it's all kind of location based with the maps. I have my labels set up by location, and then you can see some of the locations I've planned out, but I haven't actually started scripting yet because I haven't gotten to that point yet. And it might seem like it kind of skips around in an arbitrary way, but these are the ways. This is kind of what unlocks for the player, that there's going to be actually revisiting of these star labels here that are labeled kind of like star, empathy, logic, power, before you get to the kappa, z, eta, and other kind of like Greek letter. So there was an intentional there was a rhyme and reason to like why I was naming things this way, but I kind of needed more information than that as I was going through and writing the when I was going through and starting to write things. And it's like I could have probably named these, instead of empathy, logic, power, I could have named them beta underscore emp, beta underscore log, beta underscore power. So that I could have gotten all the information that I needed right there, instead of having to put it in the notes up here at the top. You'll be able to see I ended up having to write here as like beta, because at some point I was trying to give the player option to go back and visit it, and I couldn't remember what the name of this star 2 was. I have them broken down in emp, logic, and power because this is where this 4th chapter is the final chapter, full chapter of the game, and it's kind of where your choices up to this point lead to. So you've been, the player has been building different characteristics of empathy, logic, and power, and at this point the character that choices have kind of established which personality or which trait the protagonist is going to be leaning the heaviest on. So it's almost like there's 3 different routes in the final chapter based on that trait, and these routes branch out according to your trait, your most prominent trait, and then come back together. And it'll make sense why. I don't want to completely like spoil everything about the story, but there is kind of a reason why, other than just the fact that it's less scripting to do to have them all kind of branch back to one central plot. But that's kind of what my whole approach has been to this game, is to have meaningful choices that branch away from the main plot, but then have them reconvene to the main plot, so that the reasons why you get from point A to point B will vary, and how the protagonist feels about the events will vary, but like the events have a central narrative that is the same for all the different routes until the very end, the epilogue, and then there will be several different endings. So I think the story will feel different going, at least that's my intention, is the story will feel different going through it as building up different traits, and the protagonist will feel a little different, even though he is a very established character. I hope that the player can still feel like their choices make a difference, besides just the very end. Like, I think the journey will feel a little bit different, even though there are a lot of very similar beats. But I think waiting more towards the end to make these choices especially impactful saves you some scripting as the writer and programmer. If I had had all these completely separate branches for the traits early on, then it's almost like a tree branch. Like, it could just easily start to grow out of control by keeping on branching out and branching out and branching out. But since this is the 4th chapter, and I've given the player a lot of opportunities to kind of establish which trait is going to be the more dominant one. So it's not like they just like made one decision and now you're on the path to power forever. You made 5 decisions, now you're on the path to empathy forever. No, it's a lot more choices than that. And some people may find the choices excessive, but I feel like because I made so many choices that hopefully nobody will get hung up on like, oh, I should have answered that one choice like a certain way and now I've spoiled everything. It's like, no, you can deviate several different ways. And because there's so many choices, and it would be so incredibly time consuming and ridiculous to be a perfectionist and go back and like redo every single choice just so you could have like a completely perfect run, is unnecessary. You don't have to have a perfect run. And hopefully you'll be able to go through every choice a little bit more naturally, because there are just so many choices that it would become kind of just ridiculous to try to go through and do every choice. So you can see there are 2 companions that were in the kind of first version of my game that I decided to omit for the current build until I've kind of gone through and completed the 2 characters that are already in. So a lot of my lint run here is talking about the missing characters that are, I left them still in the script because you can still run the game with these incomplete scripts, but and it doesn't cause the game to crash or anything in these incomplete images and stuff. But now when I start getting towards the end, now we are starting to run into a lot of things that are irrelevant to my current build with the current implemented characters. And some of these are, a lot of them end up being like these, oh, you didn't complete your italics, you didn't complete your tag, you didn't close off your tag. A lot of these are going to be like this image is missing because I haven't finished the sprites for this chapter yet. And I know that the game can run without these, so that's not a huge deal. This is interesting. I'm not really sure what that's referring to. Let's take a look. That's going to be chapter 4, star 6, imp. And, oh gosh, I already forgot what line it was. Line 56. I wish you could just click on it. That would be so much easier. Oh, so I didn't actually define this character yet because she is a new character that appears in just the 4th chapter. So I kind of have it just at the beginning of my script where I defined these characters. And I'm going to just quickly make a, I'm not going to choose any custom color for her yet, but I'm gonna at least put her in the game so when I try to run it, it doesn't crash. So we're just gonna borrow some colors from another character, and I'll go back and I'll decide what color I want her to be. So that was a good one to pick up. These are images, so that is not going to be a problem. Again, I'm referring to a character that I hadn't defined yet, so I just created her character for dialogue. And it looks like the rest of those. So I think this is probably a typo. Log 72. Yeah, so that's just supposed to be a KR. He's already implemented. Hit save, go back to our lint. Really need to implement Circe at some point. These are images that are just missing. That's okay. Do want to maybe check and see, because I don't remember planning a BG_BG. It feels like a typo. Let's check line 42. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be black. So let's save that. And I feel like this is probably because I probably copied and pasted some of the script and then went through and modified it, because the setup is kind of the same, consistent throughout. 42, and we'll just change that also to black. Okay. Let's go back to our lint. All these SEs should not be flagged next time I run it. But this is what I wanted to see. So we have 575 menus so far. That's a lot of choices. This menus is when you have like that choice dialog box. And yeah, there's a lot of them in this. Granted, one playthrough you're not going to run into all of these, but and depending on how you go through it, you may not. Yeah, I don't know the exact number that like one playthrough would go through, but it's not 575, but it's enough, I think, that you would just kind of decide to lose track after a while. I personally wouldn't have the patience to go through and be like, I'm going to test this option, I'm going to test that option, I'm going to redo every single option until I get the exact outcome that I want, because you don't need to have that level of precision to unlock the endings. I purposely designed it to save people the hassle of having to like kind of feel like they need to be perfectionists and answer every single question like a certain way in order to get what they want. So I'm going to launch the project. And just start to play through some of it, because I haven't actually tested out all of my maps and my items and things like that. So I want to make sure that my basic elements are still working. And I've hopefully gotten to a point in the game where no stat box here, so I feel like that should have a bond box. I'll have to go back and check that. And it looks like it is also keeping the location, like I have two different versions of the location of the map, and it's keeping the current location. So either I forgot to toggle off the location. Let's see. Either I forgot to toggle off the location and that's why it's marking it as true, or there's something in how I coded the screen that didn't pan out. So I believe we are on the power route. Let me just check our status. So yes, we should be on the power route. Let's check when we decided to move. I should have changed the position to false. When I moved there. That looks right to me. So then let's check our screen. Our screen for the map. Not the Cosmos screen. Okay, let's make sure that, because I have so many of these gosh darn images too, let's check and see if under images what S1P_F looks like, because I could have saved these wrong. I hate it when I do that, but I could have. No, there it is. That looks right. Let me go back to looking at my screen again. Oh, this should be underscore position. It's just a mislabel. Let's go through now, because when I make with mistake once, I tend to make the same mistake repeatedly. I just do that stuff. So let's check and make sure. Let's just try to do an I and make sure that T underscore T matches position. That you see position and underscore T grouped together like little friends. See, missing it again here. I am like very consistent. So like when I make mistakes, I tend to make the same mistake over and over and over again. Like my brain just wants to keep repeating the mistake. So whenever I discover that I did something wrong once, I always try to like think of like, when did I do this instance of it someplace else? I probably made that mistake again somewhere. And these are the types of things that don't pick up on your lint run. And I'm purposely highlighting it too to force myself to actually look at what I'm looking for and not to just skim, because I think when I have a tendency to skim and my eye will just like fill in what it thinks should be there instead of actually seeing what is there. Alright, I think I've caught the problem now. So let's go ahead and close this and try running it again. We're gonna skip and move to the next start. And voila! Problem solved. Thanks again, and enjoy the process. If you're interested in trying my current stable build, there'll be a link in the description below where you can download my game for free at itch.io. Take care. Bye!